And as Rosalind mentioned, so I'm an international human rights lawyer, and as Khulud mentioned, the wheels of justice turn at a glacial pace. And so observing this, we've developed a model where we gather our colleagues around the world who are jurists and qualified to review evidence of potential breaches of the Genocide Convention in real time, based on open source information. And that way we can come to a conclusion in a timely manner instead of, I imagine all of us are frustrated with how historically genocide determinations have come far too late and after the fact and after destruction is complete. And so we're moved by that, and we've developed a model for a number of situations, and I co-chaired the inquiry into breaches of the Genocide Convention in Darfur with my colleague Mutassim Ali. Sadly, cannot be here, but he's on Zoom and can hopefully join and intervene in the Q&A. We conducted our inquiry with leading authorities on international law and regional experts, including founding prosecutors of the International Criminal Tribunals, presidents of the International Association of Genocide Scholars, and former Supreme Court justices, the head of UN Legal Affairs, to give our report and our findings the status of international law. Because the way international law works is when you have the top publicists and jurists come to a conclusion together, that will serve as a source of international law and an independent finding, which can then move states to take countermeasures against those who are violating the Genocide Convention, including those who are complicit in the genocide, outside actors, in addition to the RSF, which we found to be committing genocide. And we particularly focused on West Darfur in our findings, in our investigation. But we see the same dynamics playing out throughout the RSF's attacks. And you'll recall that the International Criminal Court issued the first genocide arrest warrant against al-Bashir, finding that the Janjaweed, along with the government, were carrying out very similar patterns of attacks, manifesting a genocidal intent at the time through large-scale attacks, systematic attacks, which are mirrored today in the exact same strategies and methods. And so seeing the ethnically motivated killings in Ardamata and El Janeina last year, we undertook first an open letter gathering over 100 experts to alert the community to the serious risk of genocide, which itself imposes a duty on all states to act outside their borders, to do everything reasonably within their means to prevent genocide. And so that's number one. That's the first implication of the finding of a serious risk of genocide. The second implication of a finding of genocide is that states now have a basis to take legitimate countermeasures under international law that can take the form of any sort of economic, financial, political, diplomatic measures in response, including the responsibility to protect that can take any one of those avenues. And so what is so deeply inhumane about what is happening is that this is not only a repeat genocide in our lifetimes, but within a single generation in the 21st century. And the world is simply letting it happen. And there is no reason that the Sudan conflict is not in the news every single day and has a dedicated ticker, the same with Gaza and Ukraine. There is absolutely no reason that the biggest, in terms of sheer numbers, humanitarian crisis right now is not being monitored in this way. And I apologize if I give some graphic descriptions, but or recite any graphic statements, but some of the findings of genocidal intent derive from the statements by militiamen on the ground. So if you are Masalit, we decided we don't want any alive, not even the children. Some of the most open and explicitly genocidal statements that Human Rights Watch has documented and others. Boys that will grow up to kill us, so we must destroy them now. If the boy grows up, he will fight us, following the brutal murders of even 2-year-olds and 6-month-old children. And genocidal intent is not only found from statements, but also through the systematic genocidal acts, and every single one is occurring on a systematic basis in West Darfur against the Masalit, and now we're seeing more against the Fur and Zagawa increasingly as villages are being burned on the way to El Fashir, but killing members of the group, causing serious bodily and mental harm, inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about its destruction, and imposing birth prevention measures. So each one of these acts happening on a systematic basis against members of a specific group where militiamen actually screen for the identity of their victims. And each victim, the only common denominator is that they're members of the specific non-Arab groups. And so that's why it is so critical that what happens in El Jenaina, Ardamata, and to a certain extent now, dynamics are different, but what happens in El Fashir must be accurately described as such, as genocide, when these patterns are so open and when we have a legal finding. And we shouldn't let this genocide get buried under a broader conflict between two warring sides, when what is happening in these specific events are massacres, ethnically targeted, mass sexual violence and rape against specific communities for their identity only. And so the UK and its allies should muster the strength to actually call out this for what it is. The perpetrators and enablers by name, including the UAE, and take any sort of accountability measures against the perpetrators and enablers to impose immediate costs now to deter the imminent atrocity crimes to come. And join us, as I'm announcing right now, in our case that we intend to bring to the International Court of Justice against the UAE for breaches of the Genocide Convention.
Well, thank you, Jonah, for that very sobering presentation. Abdullah.